Right, at this time, we're going to start the Southwest Deltona Community Redevelopment Agency meeting. Can you please call the roll?
Member Bradford?
Present.
Member Burbank? Member Colwell? Excused. Member Doty Lee excused. Member McCool?
Here.
Member Vila Vasquez?
Present.
And Member Vila?
Here. This time, we're going to move to public forum.
Mayor, there's no public forum at this time.
Okay, we'll go ahead into business. Southwest Deltona Community Redevelopment Area Agency Annual Meeting and Review of the CRA 2022 Annual Financial Report. Ms. Terlyn Boswick and Mr. Jerry Mays.
Good evening, CRA Board. I'm just going to step up for a moment and introduce Terlyn Bostwick, Assistant Economic Development Manager for the City of Deltona.
Good evening, Mr. Chair and board members of the CRA. I am here to give a report of activities and projects that have been completed in the previous year, 2022, along with a financial report of the performance of the CRA as required by the statute 163 that establishes the CRA. The Southwest Deltona CRA, also known as the Southwest Volusia CRA, falls under the umbrella of the Volusia County Community Redevelopment Area as a charter county. So when I get done with the presentation, the board will need to take a position to approve the presented report to then be presented to the Board of Commissioners for approval, to then be submitted to Volusia County, to be submitted to the state. All right. You have the PowerPoint up here? Oh, there we go. So just a few slides to familiarize you with the CRA area. So the Southwest Deltona Community Redevelopment Area was established in 2016, and it is jointly funded by tax increment funding from the County of Volusia as well as the City of Deltona. The long-term use is for the purpose right now for transportation funds and related to safety related to transportation funds. So in this presentation, we have three areas. We'll start in the north, which runs from I-4 to Saxon, to Normandy, to Deltona Boulevard. Here. And then we have the central section that goes from Normandy to Deltona, near the post office. And then we have the south from the post office down to Dirksen. Just a note that as of now, we don't have any projects going on in the southern section, so primarily sections 1 and section 2. And along with the CRA, there's an established master plan that the projects are identified from, and they are outlined here for street lighting improvements, bus stop improvements, ADA sidewalk safety improvements, curve improvements, intersection improvements, and to expand North Normandy to 4 lanes. And those are the transportation and safety improvements. The plan also economic infrastructure improvements, which entails improving the sewer at Saxon and Deltona. So I'll just give you an update now. You should have in your packet a copy of the annual report. So the base year taxable value of all CRA properties was $51,486. Sorry, $51,486,555. and that's the total assessed real property values within the boundaries of the CRA as of end of fiscal year 2022, September 30th, was 95 million. Is that 95 million? 95,289,122. Is that right? Okay. So the CRA has liabilities and accounts payables in the amount of $67,479.92. Income received, $238,582 in ad valorem taxes. $155,371.29 comes from intergovernmental income, and $4,296.93 in interest, for a total of $398,250.22. In terms of assets, the CRA has received income in that amount of $398,250.22, and has been added to the fund balance, making it $1,030,581.58. And just to note that all of these figures are as of September 30th. So in calendar year, just a note before I go on, the CRA annual report reports projects for calendar year. The financials are reported in alignment with the city's fiscal year. So in calendar year 2022, the CRA expended $69,499.92. And these were a part of improvements planned for the CRA, and they were pay as you go and paid out at the time of construction. The CRA plan and statute also requires, when opportunities are presented for affordable housing, Deltona CRA, Southwest CRA doesn't have that, so there wasn't any dollars at this time expended on any affordable housing for low-income and middle-income residents. So in terms of some of the goals for the previous year and working towards those, we had the board to approve street lighting along several corridors and intersections, namely to upgrade along North Normandy and Saxon Boulevard intersection as it approaches that. And this has been completed. The city's also working on illumination upgrades for a section of North Normandy from Saxon Boulevard to Deltona Boulevard. So far, $4,815.90 has been expended on that. Currently underway, ADA sidewalks improvements and upgrades are planned, and those improvements were initiated in the first quarter of last year, 2022, and we should have a report for the 2023 report with when those projects are completed. Funds were expended in the amount of $2,499.50, along with a matching grant to do a feasibility study to determine to determine the feasibility for the intersection improvement at North Normandy and Deltona Boulevard. Also, as a part of the improvements approved, have been to 5 sites have been located along Saxon Boulevard and Deltona Boulevard to install bus stop shelters. And those areas, those sites have been surveyed and identified, and the estimated cost per shelter is approximately $28,000. So those are the projects that had been identified in the plan and to move forward with. There are some projects proposed and some estimated costs to move forward with in 2023, not to be completed in 2023, but to move forward with that. The CRA has worked with the code enforcement, the city's code enforcement program, to identify blighted conditions and to include those as areas in need of attention. So the city has been working with the code compliance program to have businesses to repair, clean, upgrade their businesses, their buildings, and that's been fairly successful, and so that is going to be a continued effort moving forward in 2023. Street lights along North Normandy at the Saxon-Normandy intersection to improve illumination there. This project was underway. It's on hold right now. The supplier of the lights are investigating the faulty lights. They turn purple, so they have to figure out why the lights are the purple light syndrome. So that's on hold, but to be pursued in next year. Also, for the CRA, we're looking to obtain LAP certification, or local agency program certification, so that current activities under the redevelopment plan can perform satisfactorily per state and federal project requirements. Right now, the CRA does not allow for land acquisition, and so getting the certification would be a first step in having funding to acquire properties or land that might be needed for CRA projects. So there's no cost associated with that at this time. That's to be determined. Continuation of annual sidewalk and accessibility improvements at approximately $10,000 a year. Also a continuation with bus stop improvements. At present, last year and presently, there's litigation concerning the bus stop shelters and improvements, and so that's on hold right now, but hopefully we can move forward with that in 2023. And finally, to pursue additional funding through the TPO grant to do another feasibility study, but this time regarding the curves within the Normandy Boulevard corridor. So that would be for $2,500 as we did last year for the intersection feasibility. If the grant is not awarded, then there would be a cost of $40,000. So we're still hopeful that we can get that grant and have to just pay $2,500 for the CRA's matching part of the $5,000 study. Just wanted to make you aware of a few initiatives that can benefit the Southwest Deltona CRA and that's not CRA funding. So there's the state funding for illuminating crosswalks and pavement markers. And then there's also money for tree plantings for beautification and environmental purposes from the tree fund. So state funds and the tree fund are two sources of funds that can benefit activities in the CRA. And then finally, there are some suggested initiatives for the CRA annual plan and redevelopment plan. These items would have to be presented to the county for consideration once the board is in agreement with moving forward with that. But there are some initiatives or suggestions for the CRA annual plan. Firstly, to further ascertain blighted properties, to have the funding to allow for phase 1 and phase 2 ESAs, environmental site assessments, and that can be for property that you might acquire or property that needs to be disposed of in the CRA. The funding does allow for that. The cost is to be determined once the CRA master plan is revised. Proposing the use of grant funds for facade improvements and introducing a facade improvement program within the CRA. Again, those costs are to be determined upon approval of the county and them being incorporated into the plan. Issuing a request for a proposal once that program moves forward for the citywide benches, bus benches, and that would be the benches, the covers, the trash cans. Again, that's on hold right now, but that's something to consider moving forward. And then finally, an activity that has seen as economic benefit to the CRA and would be presented to the county for consideration, should that be the board's desire, is to fund a study or to design the extension of the central sewer within underserved commercial nodes of the CRA, that being on the north side of Saxon, between North Normandy and I-4. Central sewer is needed to promote redevelopment, but at this time is not utilized by with the county tip. So this would have to be something that we present to them, and then they would have to approve. So those are just a report. Not a whole lot going on last year with the CRA, but there's still a lot of potential. So at this time, if you have any questions about expenditures or existing projects or recommendations, I'd be happy to address those.
Member McCool?
I have a couple of questions, a couple of observations. First of all, waiting on $2,500 from TPO, I don't know why we're doing that, and go ahead and do the feasibility study. Second of all, bus stops are trash can holders that the trash cans never or hardly ever get emptied, and they're overrunning most of the time. So I wish we would address that. If we're going to have bus stops, if we could maintain them, that would be fantastic. Second of all, I want to find out, what is the most updated version of the Volusia County Comp Plan? Does anyone in the room know? When was that updated last? The county comp plan? No? Okay. What I'm asking for, number 4 on here should be our number 1, studying, design, extension of central sewer system. And I've talked about this over the last year. Talked about it for 2 years now. We have an underserved business there that we've talked about getting county funds for before we invest any more of our dollars. I understand we're holding on to dollars, but investing any more of our dollars into that area. This is our CRA. We get money, we get matching funds, we have state recognition, we have county recognition, we have city needs, and we're being underrepresented there. 2 years now, we've not gotten the money from the county to do what we need to do, which is put the sewer infrastructure in there to attract the business. We're not going to do benefit by wasting money by putting any more crosswalks there. Planting trees, we have what, close to $1 million? Can anybody tell me? I think pretty much close to $1 million in the tree fund. Yeah? Anyone? We do. Almost $1 million, right, in the tree fund there. We shouldn't be planting anything there until we get this master plan down with this area, and it starts with the sewer. And I understand that getting that money to waiting, that we're not allowed in the TIP, we're only allowed certain money to do this with. We have our county rep here, we have our city manager here, and I want to find out where we are at in those talks about that subject, because we've been pounding on it for 2 years now.
So may I address some of your...
Sure, absolutely.
So the bus stops, the grant, these are projects or activities approved the previous year, and this is the update of where we are. So the $2,500 for the feasibility of the curves, we're likely going to move forward on that, and so it'll be $2,500 for the city, $2,500 from the TPO versus $40,000. But it is on the list of what we want to do from last year, so we're reporting on that. So that would include the bus stops, the TPO grant, And then just the availability of the funds from the tree fund and other state grants.
Well, the tree fund, I understand, has close to $1 million. I'd follow that tree fund because it was my assessment and assertion that we should use that tree fund money to repatriate where we've stripped communities of their trees because we've allowed developers to go in and just clear cut areas. That's my thought on that. So what I'm trying to get to is reference to policy 61.61 of Volusia County policy, their comp plan, talking about making sewer a priority, especially for these areas. So we have our county representative here. I'm asking about working on getting that language worked on to where we can use the money how we need it used, if that's a possibility, and our city manager to talk about where are we with this, because this is something that we've discussed for 2 years, getting sewer on Deltona Boulevard so that we can remove that blight. There's nothing else here. We're throwing money when we don't address the largest root cause of underdevelopment there in that area as we move forward. If we're moving forward, we're moving forward. So where are we with that?
We're moving forward.
Okay.
I have discussions with the manager this week. I intend to bring that up as a subject. I think there's actions this board has to take. This board has taken an action to not extend sewers in the city, and we got to undo some of the things the previous commission's done. And that will enable us to move, and I think the county would be more than happy to work with us in that regard. So we do have a program that we're planning to go forward with. I can't give it to you now because I don't have it, but I can tell you it's on my agenda, and I'm sure, and I'm quite positive, I've had one meeting with the county staff already concerning some projects that we will work together on, and we're going to continue to do that. So we got a whole host of projects we're working on. Some of these things they carry over for 5-10 years, but we're going to do something about it in the next year that I'm here.
And if you can clarify, our county rep can clarify what I'm talking about, the language there as far as what it's allowable for the TIP funding, if you could clarify that also.
Thank you, Commissioner McCool and Commissioners and Mayor. I just wanted to add, I've had conversations about this as most recently as a few days ago with staff, actually last Friday. Even our development services director on our side is aware of the challenge that we have because of the restrictions on the CRA. I could speak for myself as an individual council member. I think I've mentioned it to a couple of you. If we get an official request, and I understand he's working through it, I would certainly advocate for modifying that CRA to allow you to dip into those funds, because I agree that without that infrastructure work, the rest of the money is just going to be a little bit spent here, a little bit spent there, but the impact that I think that the council is looking for won't happen unless that infrastructure is in there. So I'll support it, but I think I need an official request to really get on the dais and fight for it with my colleagues. Thank you.
Thank you. And just to be clear, Commissioner McCool, so the suggested activities, translation, formally request revision or update of the CRA master plan. Staff has spoken with county staff, and the city would need to make a formal request for the various areas of the plan that it would like to be amended. So what we're saying is, in essence, is the topic of sewer, although there's a process to get there, it would be one of the items of eligible activities to be requested in the master plan update so that you can actually expend the funds on that activity.
Could you tell me the project, the bus stop improvement, the cost of the project's been put on hold until litigation is reconciled? Is that over the lighting? What is the litigation underway for regarding that?
Do you want me to answer?
I can answer that.
Okay.
That's an ongoing litigation with all the cities in the state of Florida have been involved in a series of cases where individuals that were handicapped found that the benches were of not the right size or were not of the right height, or the access to the transportation system was inadequate, and they have taken everybody to the court. Now, my last reading of the results is the court has thrown it out because it was not they didn't consider it a legitimate request item to the court. And I think really there's some issues that we have to look at with Votran and their system and exactly what kind of service they could continue to provide in Deltona, because that would impact whether we have the need for additional benches in the city. And that's something, that's a new development that's occurred over the last 6 weeks.
Yeah, okay. I get that. I understand that. My frustration, what you're hearing, frustration is that we, and I know that this is Commissioner Vasquez's district, and I know that she's been beating on it for at least 4 years regarding the neglect. And I understand the pooling of funds or waiting on funds until we can do whatever. But, you know, to plant trees before we understand what kind of infrastructure is going in there, it's frustrating, because I know that, I think that Mr. Peters prior had conversations, I think Mr. Cooper prior to that had conversations with the county, and we're just spinning our wheels as far as getting the county on board with helping us patriate that area with much needed infrastructure. I know that business owners have talked to Commissioner Vasquez. I know that business owners that I know over there have talked to me about this, and you're looking at people trying to decide to make an investment over there, and you see all the lots over there that are abandoned that could be patriated with this. And so what that is that's frustration at a deeper level of just waiting now. You know what I mean?
I can certainly understand, and we're not waiting today. We're working toward a solution, and that we're going to continue to push forward. To get the authority to do it is one thing, to actually get to the point where you can start digging in the ground's another. It will take time to get through that process, but I've got to clear the hurdles first, and that's where we're at today.
Thank you.
Member Bradford.
Thank you for your presentation. I had just written down a few questions, and I don't know if any of these are even feasible and able to be used. I understand Member McCool's frustration. We have been bringing up, the sewer septic. I believe the commission did pass a couple years ago a ordinance that said no to forced sewer, which I still don't know how that's even possible. And that was going to be my next question. Do we have any plans to have any lift stations or anything by any new companies, put in one? Is it possible, how impacted was this area? And I'm just throwing this out here, nobody attack me, please. How impacted was this area from our last 2 storms? And is any funds available? And I ask this question because that's our older homes. And in those older homes, we have paid off homes, and we have individuals who maybe they're not insured, or maybe they're not able to be. And I guess my question is can funding from the CRA program be used to assist any of the homes that have been damaged that maybe need additional funds that haven't been made available? Whether they need a roof, whether they need whatever to get them livable again. Are funds able to be utilized for that? I don't know that answer.
So the answer is the CRA funding is restricted per the activities outlined in your communities. Overall, what the statute allows for, but within your community's specific master plan, that activity is not included. Second, as it is housing, CRAs do have a requirement for individuals that might have hurdles to whether it's home ownership or home repair, home improvement, and your community would work to develop a specific program. So CRA funding in general allow for housing-related activities. Your master plan has to specifically state what those activities are, and to do that, you have to go before the county to request those amendments with as specific a detail as possible regarding intended goals, et cetera. So it does not allow for that now for the Southwest Deltona CRA. It could, depending on what specifically related to the housing and who qualifies, but that's a separate conversation to be had. And the county has stated that the city can come to them with a list of additional activities to be included in a master plan amendment.
Okay, and I personally, I think this has came up prior years, when we have had homes, like I said, that is the oldest district. So if we have some building, a structure, I don't even, maybe it's a commercial building, and we need to do, to me, redevelop is redevelop. And, to hear, and I understand, it's not you, I'm not directing this at you, to hear, oh my gosh, we got to redo this plan, then maybe that's what we really need to sit down and look at is, do we need to do that? Is it even recommended to do that? Because I guess part of me says, was any of this area where we had flooding, stormwater issues that we need to address, and can we utilize any of this?
I don't know that that the CR area itself was an area that was impacted by the floods. I think it's a rather high area from what I remember.
Yeah.
But in any event, we can amend and change the plan, but the designated area, I don't think we can change.
Well, because I know Normandy, up there by the curbs going towards Saxon, they've had where those roads flood over. It goes into, residents' yards, and there is a couple sections. Now, I don't know if they've been totally, Normandy, Providence. Yeah, there's a few areas there that I know we've had stormwater major issues where when we get a rain, and it doesn't even have to be a hurricane, it's overflowing, people's yards are overflowing, needs addressed, and if they haven't been addressed and we can't do it with this, then we need to figure out how to do it, one. But that's why, to me, when I think of CRA and funds we're using to redevelop an area, our job is to fix the area. And I understand the frustration of, oh yeah, we're going to put benches, we're going to do lighting. We got to do more. I don't know what it takes, if we need to bring in the county, if we need to have a meeting up here of our minds and say, what are we seeing? Because the vision that it sounds like that's in our master plan was done by prior commission. Maybe
Right.
that master plan
Correct.
was turned in by a prior commission, and this commission has whole new desires. We want more than these little, you know what I'm saying?
Great
We need to
segue.
do something more. We
Yeah.
talk about banners. We don't have money to put banners up, or we can't. We're using the county polls, whatever, and we're up here nonstop talking about informing residents of events and this and that. Right here is a wonderful corridor on Deltona Boulevard, which I'm 90% sure is part of our CRA, and perfect place to put banners up. So why can't we use CRA funds? Now I'm being told, yeah, hey, banners. Yeah, banners, great. Let's inform residents what's going on. So I don't know if we have time, obviously, to change the master plan now. But
Well, not right now. And so just a reminder, this is just a report of the financials and
Right.
the activities as approved and their performance.
Right, so anything, right, so this is coming up, but it's going to take us this year, which I'd like to see us have meetings this year to get over our frustrations of, can we work with the county to change the master plan, and what is the desire of this new commission to get in your next plan?
So
we're not up here yelling at you next year going, why do I only have park benches?
No, you don't have to yell. We can just engage a little bit more. The CRA board can, and they usually do meet more than once a year, other than hearing the annual report. Your board can convene and have a planning session or training for some, and outline your desired activities or projects. The county actually would prefer specific details. A lot of what you've mentioned, banners, et cetera, that's related to events. CRA funding allows for that. But another time and another place, these activities, the transportation activities, were approved. The CRA board can expand the scope of what you would like the funds to be used on, and in turn request that those uses, if allowable, be incorporated into the master plan. So after
This meeting.
recommending approval of just the report, then you can definitely convene sooner than later to discuss those projects and activities to then be formally presented to the county, and you'll be able to do some of those things.
It's important that you approve the report.
No, I get that.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying we're not going to at all, Ms. Bostwick. But what I'm suggesting is we do have another meeting sooner than later, so this board can go over their priorities.
Right.
Because I'm getting a little frustration up here, and I get it. I know we've approved all this other stuff, and it wasn't your fault. So let's fix it so that we can get on the same wavelength. That is what I'm looking forward. And I lost my thought. So can we do you need a motion? You want me to make it, or you want to hold?
So give me just 1 minute so I can get Member Avila Vasquez and Member McCool one last time. But before I go to them, Mr. Chisholm, just so I get this, we understand this, so the frustration goes down. Some of the issues that we're having, for example, completing the sewer from low water all the way up to Crunch Fitness, that is part of the intertwined issues that the City Commission needs to fix, so we can get that area redeveloped with businesses that really want to come.
Right.
Is that correct? Before
That's
we
correct.
start giving that new direction?
We need to move forward with the sewer extension program now. There's not enough funds in here to
Correct.
do everything we need to do. So we're going to have to bite that off with other funds that we can make available.
And then at that time, we can go back to the county and ask them to help us with their CRA part
Right.
for the sewer as well.
And we'll change our master plan to really reflect what the commission's desires are as far as the use of those funds.
Got it.
And we'll have to talk about the amount of money and how you can be most effective. But at the same time, that's not the only source of funds you have to fix the sewer problems. I mean, that's, it's a citywide problem. It's not just confined to this one area, but we have to start addressing it. We can't kick this can down the road, and that's what we're not proposing to do that.
So this is the first step, approve the report, so then we can come back and
Talking
have the
about it.
conversation.
Yeah, I'm happy to see that everybody's concerned with it and willing to go forward, because that will make it easier for us to get action as it relates to the county or any other agency we have to deal with.
Thank you. Member Avila Vasquez, and then Member McCool, and then Member Bradford can.
Thank you, Mayor. So, I don't want this project stopped. I want it to continue moving forward. It doesn't matter if, whatever it takes, trees, whatever, I want it to continue moving forward. My residents in District 3 want it to continue moving forward. We'll take one step at a time. I understand that, I don't know if the first of all, can we use CDBG funds for this in also with the CRA project?
So the best CRA projects, the most successful CRA projects are funded by multi-layers of funding. The funding is leveraged. Many CRA projects are funded by other infrastructure dollars, CDBG, various funding sources, but they're specific to the projects that you approve. And there are lots of eligible activities. So the board, as sounds like you would like to do, is encouraged to reconvene probably next quarter, since we're at the end of this one, and have a working session so that you can identify what activities are most suitable and likely to be able to be executed here in Deltona. And we can even request someone from the Florida Redevelopment Association to help facilitate that, or to give you all the information that you need regarding the eligible activities and see if they are allowable within the Southwest Deltona CRA. So you can do that if that is what the board desires. And like Mr. Chisholm said, we're moving forward, and you can do that.
So the CRA project is sort of a la carte. we have to pick what project is going to be first? Is that what you're saying?
No. So right now, most of these projects were identified because the plan said transportation related. So the projects, the sidewalks, the bus stops, the curves, the intersection, those were projects that were identified under the umbrella of the eligible activity of transportation. But the board could convene, and one of the recommendations, for example, we talked about environmental assessments. You might need to acquire property, or you might be a part of a project where property needs to be acquired or disposed of. A lot of times you want to know if there are any environmental issues. CRA funding can pay for those phase 1s and phase 2. That might not sound like a lot, but that's an eligible activity that you want to allow your funds to be spent on in any redevelopment area. We talked about facade improvements. Do we know specifically where that would be eligible? You don't have to get to that level, but the more information I think that you can give the county to show that this is an activity that's actually feasible, you can do that. So the prioritization is based on the board's priority, but also the opportunity. So the things that you would like to see need to kind of match up with the things that you'd like to see that are actually doable in the short term. Just a reminder that as of now, all CRAs in the state of Florida sunset 2034 or 36. So we're talking a 10-year period. So for the next 10 years or so, you want to make sure that you identify projects and goals that are achievable. And that includes the opportunity, finding various sources of income. If HUD or CDBG funds can be used along with CRA dollars, there's that. The tree fund, nothing going on now, but maybe a project might come to beautify and then plant, but that's a funding source. So that's what you'll talk about in your workshop, to come up with your priorities to pursue, and then ask the county to include those activities, assuming they're eligible, into the master plan. And then staff can go forth and try to make it happen once it's been approved.
And I know that the sewer project topic has been beaten up a lot, but I have a question for our city manager, Mr. Chisholm. I know there was well, I don't know if it was ever done, but I know we were going to look into if the Fountain Plaza of Enterprise and Deltona Boulevard were on sewer. And I know that we approved a school, which is right next to Fountain Plaza, who we found out during the approval that it was on sewer. And I think there was something going on that it was going to be looked into, the possibility of the city trying to hook up with that sewer from that plaza. I know the same project was supposed to have been looked at on Saxon Boulevard, because we know for a fact that Publix on Saxon is on sewer, but they run it. And I know that we were supposed to be looking to see if they would turn it over to the city for us to maintain it and run it, make it easier to connect whatever other connection needed to be done down Saxon Boulevard. Same thing for Deltona Boulevard Enterprise, if Fountain Plaza has their own sewer system there. They were supposed to be looked into, don't know if they were, but this projects for the CRA, I've been sitting up here for 4 years. For 4 years, we have been going over and over and over and over the same project, the same request, and nothing has been done, because there's always something up at this dais that somebody doesn't like, or somebody wants to change, or somebody wants to look at again. I'm hoping that this year, something gets done with the CRA project like the residents have requested. We had a project, we presented it to the residents, we had 2 meetings, the residents loved it, they said let's go for it, the commissioners turned it down. This is not a project for the commissioners, this is a project for the residents. So let's please work on what we have already identified, and let's get it moving. Let's go to get it forward. We can't stop one thing because something else cannot be done. Let's continue moving with what can be done, and then, work on what cannot be done when we get to it. But we can't stop. It's been stopped for 4 years, and we're going to lose the funds if we don't use them. So I'm hoping that I am making myself clear on what the residents wanted. We had a project that the owners, the former owners of Deltona Boulevard, were willing to give us some of their land, some of their property to make our project wider. And this commission turned it down. So, let's move forward with this. It's been 4 years and nothing has changed.
Thank you.
Nothing has changed in this project. Absolutely nothing. We wanted to work with the owner of, what's the name of that street of, the Welcome Center. That's not even ours, and we have to clean it up. Part of this project called for us to work with the owner of that street to turn it over to the city. We have to clean it all the time because residents complain about it. That was part of CRA. Have we done something? Probably not. Let's move this project forward. Let's do what we can with the money we can, and then worry about if we don't have money left over, we'll worry about it when we get there. But let's move the project forward, please. That's all I'm asking.
Member McCool, and then we're going to go for the motion with Member Bradford.
First of all, Jerry, thank you for the work that you've done over the last few years on this. It's well appreciated. And thank you for bringing us this report. We appreciate it. Chairlyn, and welcome. If you've not been properly welcome to the team. My big goal is collective funding here, right, is pooling our sources and talking about how important this is in order to get the tax base that we need, because that is a prime commercial area. We have some prime commercial areas, okay? We have Deltona Boulevard, prime commercial area. We have Howland Boulevard, prime commercial area, which we should be working on. We all know that our mix of commercial to residential ratio is not where it should be, and our tax base suffers because of that. I'm thinking long-term goals here. So we're talking about throwing good money after bad. I'm not trying to poo-poo a project. I'm trying to get us talking about the larger picture. And the larger picture is that we need the infrastructure to support the business base. You've started to work on that. I appreciate it. Again, my frustration is that this has been asked for the last, few years, and it's gotten glazed over, whether it be other stuff was seemingly more important or whether it be just not effective communication at the county level. I rest assured that you are more than capable, Mr. Chisholm, of taking this task out to the ballpark. But I must say, for the public, and based on what the public has said too, we need more tax base. We need good, tangible tax base, and in order to build that area up, I understand we have residents over there, we have older homes over there. The priority is to serve the needs of all the community, right? Because we talk about that, right? Serving the needs of the many and not just focusing on the few. That's what I've been taught. So we need that tax base for the whole community. So I just want to say thank you for what you've done. This report, I have no shame in transmitting this report. I feel fully that it's in your capable hands. But there again, planting trees isn't the right thing to do right over there right now. I just have to state that. We have the money, but that can be put back into what I said. We already have current infrastructure that needs shade, that was stripped of shade because of bad development, and I'd like for us to think about that. So thank you for this report, Chairlyn. It's much appreciated.
Thank you. And just a point of clarification, that was a section of the report just identifying other funding sources for use within the CRA. There aren't any specific, for example, tree planting activities being pursued right now.
Yeah, and that's what I talk about, and I want the dialogue for us to stay open as a city for collective funding, for seeking funding from all of those. We've not been great about that in the past, right, to look at those multiple funding areas. I think that we're getting better at it. We're talking more verbally about it. I think that we're talking more, like when I talk to state legislators about it, right, when I talk to county people about it, that the awareness is being created by transmitting this, right, and by talking about what the expectation is for Deltona. Deltona's had low and presented low expectations in the past, but I think that has changed for us and what our expectation is of what, what I mean. We've paid it a lot to the county. We expect some back. Same with the state, so thank you for helping us get there.
Thank you so much. Member Bradford?
I hereby make the motion to accept the Southwest Volusia Community Redevelopment Area 2022 Annual Financial Report and transmit the 2022 Annual Financial Report to the County of Volusia and the State Department of Economic Opportunity. The acting city manager has the authority to make corrections of Scrivener errors and the like.
Second.
There's a motion by by Member Bradford and a second by Member McCool. Please vote. The motion passes 5-0. Thank you, Ms. Bostwick.
Thank you.
At this time, I'm going to go down to each member to see if there's any comments, and I'll start with Member Burbank.
Thank you, Mayor.
It's a member.
Joe, look to the Muffler Man approved plans. The Muffler Man was required to connect to a lift station at Justin Square. And I couldn't tell you where that lift station goes or if it's public or private, but they do have sewer there that is served by a lift station. We did require, when Muffler Man was installed, we required that they hook up to that for central sewer. That much I do know. Other than that, I've got nothing. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Burbank. Member McCool, any comments?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm good.
Member Bradford, any comments?
When did they, can I ask a question to
Absolutely.
Member Burbank? Member Burbank, when did they put in a lift station at Justin Square?
When they built it,
Okay, because as of recent, I was a tenant at Justin Square, and they have a sewer there, and the previous owner, who's deceased, Mr. Kent, absolutely refused to have the lift station put in. They did not have a lift station because he did not want to go on sewer.
okay.
So there is no lift station. In fact, when he deeded that property and willed it over to the house next door, and when they sold it, that was one of the biggest concerns because they were actually going to work with the city. So to my knowledge, correct me if I'm wrong, there is no lift station. There wasn't when I was a tenant there.
Mr. Reese?
Correctly. I don't believe that there's one there. We're currently reviewing a conditional use application or a site plan application for a private school or a daycare at the house next door site,
Right.
They're on septic.
Again, I would suggest you look at the Muffler Man plans because when that plan was approved, they were required to hook up to sewer someplace, and my understanding was they jack a board underneath Deltona Boulevard.
I'll look into them, but yeah,
Thank you.
at the moment, the house next
Yeah.
door site does not have sewer, which I would imagine Dustin Square may not as
There
well.
may be some information there that'll be helpful.
Yeah, no, I was, like I said, as a tenant there and a board member of the house next door, we were in reviews of that. They are on septic, and there is no lift station because there was talks of putting one there. Mr. Kent fought that tooth and nails, so there was never one there. That was a suggested location that they were going to possibly work to put one on the corner there, but that didn't happen.
Thank you.
I
Let's move on.
just want to make sure that we do get a CRA meeting plan so that we can get the wills and needs of this one. And, I'm not a pro on this, even though I've sat up here for 6 years. What I've learned has been by education. And I don't know that we've actually had a real educated meeting on what can be a part of a CRA. What's the benefits of the city? A lot of ideas are thrown out there. I would love to know, like the banners, I never knew we could put banners. I mean, education for us, and I would love to have that. I don't want to wait 6 months to do it. That way we have time to work with the county before we're sitting here next year, if that's possible.
Just as a comment on CRA funds, we should have a plan every year that commits all the funds to be used, and that's how you keep getting funding. So it is not unusual to have things fall out in a plan that doesn't get funded for whatever reason, even though you have the money, doesn't get built. and you can always change them. You can make changes in that plan, and that's what I think I'm hearing is we're going to make some changes in the plan that we have, and we will submit that to the county for their approval.
So quick question, since you brought that up. So did we lose funds this year because we didn't utilize all of our funds from previous year?
No, as long as you got it allocated for a use and it was planned for, but that use, either the need changed or the priorities changed, and now you can use it for other things within there. But it has to go back to them for approval.
Thank you.
Member Avila Vasquez, any comments?
I just have a request that we once again take a look of all those businesses that are on Deltona Boulevard that are in the shady areas and not used, and try to see, what status they're on. I mean,
The key to the success of that area is going to be to get the utilities in place so somebody can come in. If the utilities aren't there, it's going to be very difficult to redevelop the area.
well, I'm talking about like the gas stations and that
Right.
Dr. Vasquez property over there that I don't have no idea what's going on. I just need to know what the status of those areas are and if we're working on them. Thank you.
My final comment is, I think, as members of this CRA board, let's be the difference. Let's make the hard decisions, forgetting about whatever's going to happen. We have to do what's right for residents, and we need to stop kicking the can down the road. So this is approved. That's step one. City Manager Chisholm will give us the next couple of steps, and then we have to listen to our residents and get things done. So meeting's adjourned.